Hello, Pete Wedderburn's my name. I'm Pete the Vet, and I've just finished doing the vet spot on Newstalk's Pat Kenny show. And what I always do these days is take 10 or 15 minutes after the show to do this Facebook Live video. And this is an opportunity for you to ask me more questions. And what I'll do is I'll start off by answering some of the questions we couldn't get to on air. So if you've got questions about your pets, please type them into the comments section below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. All right? But first of all, there's a couple that came while we were on air just now. What were those?
Yeah, so first one in is, hi Pete, any advice on introducing a newborn to my 11-year-old Cocker Spaniel who thinks he is 11 months?
Oh, right. It's difficult enough when there's an older dog that's not used to babies at all, because like I was saying on air, dogs don't necessarily understand that babies are little humans, and they sometimes put them in an entirely different category. And that does have the potential for causing problems. So what I guess I'd be saying is, it's good to start early and to do two things early. First of all, introduce the dog to babies before your baby ever comes along. And what that means is, while you're pregnant, what you should do is, if you've got friends who've got babies, get them to bring them around to your house and just to have them as they would do normally around the place. And your dog will just gradually get used to the presence of them and to the sound of them and to the sight and to the smell of them, of babies. That's the first thing. And you can also use things like soundtracks of babies crying. You can download those and play those in the background, and your dog will get used to that. And then once you're in hospital having the baby, what you would do is you would, before you come home, you'd send home a blanket the baby's been wrapped up in, and send that home for the dog to sniff. So again, your dog gradually gets used to the idea, and then finally you bring the baby in, and that's so customizing the dog to babies and then to your specific baby is the first thing you do. The second thing you should do is make sure that you gradually change your dog's routine. What you don't want is for the dog to have loads of attention, as it has done for the last however many years, and then suddenly baby comes along, dog gets no attention, no walks, nothing. And that will be bad news for the dog, who'll be upset by that. So what you need to do is to gradually change the routine. What that means is think about how you'll be once the baby's born and the baby's in the house. How much time will you have for your dog? What sort of walks can you give your dog? And plan that routine in advance. Then introduce that routine maybe a month before the child is born. So if your dog up to now has been having a walk twice a day for 45 minutes, if you're only going to be able to manage a half-hour walk in the morning and 50 minutes at night, but start to introduce that early so your dog gets used to it. And lots of other aspects like that. Just get your dog used to its new routine, okay?
Okay, so this comes in from Bernadette. So my dog is 2. She got her shots when I first got her at 3 months. Does she need shots every year?
She certainly needs shots at 15 months. So a year after her puppy shots, she absolutely needs to have another vaccine then against distemper, hepatitis, parvovirus and leptospirosis. After that, she needs a shot against those 3 main viruses every 3 to 4 years. But as well as that, if she's at risk from leptospirosis, then she should have that vaccination every year. Now, is she at risk from that disease? Well, it depends on her lifestyle. If she is exposed to rats, or if she goes wherever there might be rats, then she's at potential risk, and she should be vaccinated against that every year. So have a think about her lifestyle. And I'd also say talk to your own vet. Most vets are aware of the disease profile in their area, about what diseases are common and so on. So it's worthwhile talking to them, and they'll explain.
Okay, so this comes in from Bernadette again. So how to prevent fleas?
Different ways of preventing fleas. I mean, I guess the most extreme way to prevent fleas is to use a monthly tablet or a monthly spot-on product. Or indeed, there's a tablet you'll need to give every 3 months. 1 tablet every 3 months, and you'll never get fleas. So those are the extreme ways. Those ways are guaranteed to get rid of any fleas you have and to prevent fleas ever coming back again. So, you know, if you have a problem or a fear of fleas, then that's what to do. I have to say, a lot of people don't use flea prevention. It's not something that they want to do, and indeed they may never have problems with fleas. So there's a degree of personal choice there. How much of a risk are you prepared to take?
Okay, so this is from Sarah Duffy. So hi Pete, my cat has been vomiting late in the evening for the past week. He is still eating and drinking and running around. Is there anything I can do before bringing him to the vet? And the cat is 8 months old. That's
unusual. As long as the cat is bright and happy in themselves, then there's some very simple home things that you can do. And the very simple things would be to give your cat a worm dose, and make sure it's a comprehensive, broad spectrum worm dose. And your vet will be the best person to ask about that. They can advise you on what worm dose is best to use. The second thing you can simply do is to offer a bland diet for 24 hours. And what that means, that would mean essentially a diet that's been designed to be very easy to digest, and that as it's digesting, it doesn't produce irritant byproducts of digestion. So you might, for example, offer the cat chicken with a little bit of boiled rice put through it, so a bit of cooked chicken with some boiled rice in it. Now, if you do that and the cat still vomits, absolutely go to your vet. And today's Thursday, I'd actually be saying to you, if your cat vomits today, I go to the vet tomorrow morning, because there is a potential here for something really very serious. For example, if a cat swallows a piece of thread, it can cause a little bit of tangling in the intestines, and then what you get is you get a partial obstruction, which is stopping everything flowing through properly, and that would cause intermittent vomiting with the cat seeming quite bright and quite well in themselves. Yet it's a very, very serious issue, and if it's not dealt with, it can even be life-threatening. So the simple things I said you can do today, but really with the weekend coming up, I wouldn't be waiting beyond tomorrow morning before going to the vet.
Bernadette's just wondering the name of that 3-month flea treatment that you mentioned.
That one is brand name would be Bravecto.
Okay. So this is from Paul Lynch. So hi, I recently got a 12-week-old whippet. Anytime we have him in the car, he gets sick, even just a short 5-minute spin. Anything we can do to help him get over the sickness?
That's a tricky one, all right, because I suppose what you want to do is to get him accustomed to the car, and it's obviously you're trying to do that. So I suppose what I would do is I'd kind of go back a step, and I would start off just putting the dog in the car in your driveway, just sitting in the car, maybe while you're washing the car or something, and give him something to do, like maybe a chew to play with, or to chew or whatever. Then the next thing I would do is just start the engine running and leave the engine running for 10 minutes while the dog is in there, and then go for the shortest of drives of all, like just 100 yards and back again, and keep on going like that as long as your dog is happy. And the idea would be the dog gradually get used to the whole concept and get used to the motion, and they'd be okay. I'd also look at how you're putting the dog in the car, and what I mean by that is that sometimes if dogs see things whizzing past, it makes them feel more motion sickness. So what some people do is they put screens up like brown paper on the windows in the back, so the dog can't see everything rushing by, and that can help them. And conversely, if a dog has been used to, let's say, travelling in the boot, what they do is they find that if they change things around so the dog now is in a position where they can see outside, that also can help. So there's a lot of individual variety there, but that's maybe a few tips for you.
Okay, so this is from Joanne Crow. So hi Pete, we have 2 dogs and are thinking of getting a third. I have a Bichon who's 8 years and sprayed, and a standard poodle who's 15-month-old and male. I'm thinking of getting a lurcher cross, but I'm looking for advice as to a boy or a girl. Will a boy and a male standard poodle fight? And I don't want to breed, so would a girl be a better option and to get her sprayed?
Well, yeah, it's hard to know for sure with these things. I think what people would tend to say is that 2 of the same gender are more likely to fight than 2 of different genders, but there's no hard rules there. I don't know if your poodle is neutered or not, but in general, when dogs are living together, there's less likely to be fighting if they are neutered, because otherwise hormones can wreak havoc. So male or female generally are better neutered for compatibility. So I suppose I'd be more, rather than focusing on gender, I'd be more concerned about the individual personality of the dog. And I'd be doing a trial with the new dog and your dogs to make sure that they get on. Dogs can be a bit like people sometimes. When they meet, there's almost like instant chemistry, and they either get on or they don't get on. And I know people who actually had to try 2 or 3 different dogs before they find one that their other dogs like. So think about individual chemistry more than gender, I think.
This is from Liam Martin. So he has a Bichon 3-year-old male out the back with his brother, and they keep barking. They're cracking the neighbours up. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, well, dogs bark for a reason, okay? So the one I was talking about earlier on the radio was a dog who's left by himself and barks. And I suggested if you had another dog to play with, he might be less likely to bark. Well, now you've got 2 dogs, and they're both barking. Well, I think you want to find out a bit more about their lifestyle. Like I say, dogs bark for a reason, and those dogs may be barking because they're bored. So you'd be looking at, well, how much exercise are they getting out of the yard? If you just put them in the yard all day and they never go out apart from being in the yard, well, no wonder they bark. Okay, so they should be going for a nice long walk twice a day, half an hour twice a day. That will certainly help. The other thing is some dogs can bark because they're territorial, and that's very hard one to control because we like our dogs to be territorial. Mostly we do. So obviously, if you at night time, if your dog barks when there's an intruder, that's a good thing. But it's not good if your dog's in a position in your back garden where they can see people going past all the time and they're constantly barking at them. That's not good. So in that sort of situation, what you can try to do is to isolate them a little bit. So I know somebody who had a gate, and every time somebody walked past the gate, the dog barked because they could see the person. What they did is they just put screening up on the gate so the dog could no longer see through the gate. And that solved the barking completely because the dog was no longer stimulated to bark because he couldn't see people anymore. So I'd be looking at those kind of aspects anyway.
Okay, this is from Joe Hayes. So my dog has in the last week refused to go out to the shed in the evening. I have her 8 years and I recently changed to dry food about 3 weeks ago. Would that have anything to do with this?
I can't see how it would. It's interesting. I don't know. I'd wonder what else happened in the shed. Sometimes dogs have bad experiences in a place, and that can put them off. So if she went out there and there was I don't know, if she saw a rat or something she was frightened of, or if somebody gave her a fright, and dogs have pretty sensitive emotions sometimes, and they've got long emotional memories. So that could be what's happened there. But it's hard to know.
So this is the last question we've time to. There's quite a lot of questions here, so I'd urge anyone who has had a question that didn't get answered today, please tune in again next Thursday. But the final one we're going to do today is from Neve Hogan Dunn. So rescue dogs are very reactive to TV programs, including animal cartoons and bikes. How do I calm them? If possible.
It's funny how dogs vary in that way. Some dogs sit and look at television and don't even seem to notice it. Others get really excited by it. It's very difficult because excitement is excitement. How can you stop a dog being excited? And I'm not sure about the answer to this one. I guess I'd probably be saying to you to again probably exercise your dogs so it's really tired, okay? And then when they're really tired, then take them into the television room and have it turned down really low, and maybe if you could even adjust the screen so that it's very faint, so they get used to it just being in the background. And the idea would be that they would stay nice and calm and gentle and so on when it's on there very faintly, and then hopefully over time they'll get used to it being there and not get so excited by it. But if you put your dog in there that's, I don't know, hasn't been exercised for a while, that's all full of energy and enthusiasm, and it sees something on television that's really exciting, it's just natural for them to get excited, and it's pretty hard to stop that.
So there's actually one final one that
Okay.
does need to be answered. So
Alright.
Tanya, this is your question now. So my turtle is always begging for food.
Turtle?
He gets 1 cube of bloodworms a day as advised. Is that enough?
I don't think so. Okay. Nutrition of turtles is really, really important, and it's very common for people to get it wrong. And what they need to have is they need to have a complete diet that contains all of the protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, fats, and minerals that they need. And sometimes some of the food you can buy for turtles, for example, literally turtle food in a little can, is not enough for turtles. They have to have a more mixed diet. So what they really need, the ideal diet might be, for example, whole fish, including the intestines, everything. And what a lot of people make the mistake of is they put that into the turtle's tank. You shouldn't do that. What you should do is have a separate feeding tank, and you just take the turtle out of its normal tank into the feeding tank to eat the whole fish. And then once it's finished, it goes back into the other tank, and that way your main tank stays nice and clean. So I'm not sure about bloodworms. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by bloodworms and whether those are a complete diet for turtles. But that's what I'd want to be checking up if I were you. I would be finding out more about exactly what's in bloodworms, but it sounds to me like it may not have everything that your turtle needs. And a lot of problems that we see in turtles are due to poor nutrition because they're not fed a complete diet. In particular, they don't get enough calcium and vitamin D, and that can cause real problems. So do check up on that. And as I say, I don't have that information immediately to hand what's in bloodworms. And if you want to know more, you can always drop me a message to my Pete the Vet Facebook page, and I'll help you find out that. Okay? I have to go just now. All right. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you again next week.